intended for mature audiences.
Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. Trying out, going to have a special report today. Trying out a new streaming app and trying to stream to a couple different platforms today. So bear with me, please. Had a couple hiccups here. So let me see if I can't get it all going. Yeah, that's all right. So bear with me, please, if you don't mind. All right, so today we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about, obviously, the New Year's attacks and the wrapping up in a beautiful little bow, the establishment narratives concerning the New Year's attacks, terrorist attacks. So let's see if I can't... Well, there it is. I'm calling it up on Rumble. There are a couple of things I don't understand how this works. And there's no other way to really do it except to start the podcast, and then that's the only way I can enter. All right, enough of that. So, let's see. All right, I got the stream up. It should be working. So, let's see, let's get into the news today for, I believe it's January 4th, excuse me. All right, let's get into the headlines for today. We're going to be talking about the New Year's Eve attacks, or the New Year's attacks, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. And there are a couple other news things we're going to run into. We'll go over for today. All right, we're going to start out with the Wall Street Journal. Nothing's working right. This is the whole purpose here, is to try to figure out how this works. And there are a couple of things I need to iron out here if I'm going to multi-stream. So we're going to start out with the Wall Street Journal. In two attacks, a pair of unraveling lives and remaining mysteries. So the New Orleans and Las Vegas grapple with aftermath of deadly incidents. Suicide note is recovered from exploded Tesla. Now, isn't that convenient? So not only did they, the body in the exploded Tesla of Matthew Livelsberger was beyond recognition, that they can't even identify the body. The Las Vegas police were saying that they were going to not confirm the identity until they had DNA or dental records back. So that's interesting. The Las Vegas police are in that vein. But even though the body was burned beyond recognition, some of the firearms were as well. But the identification, both his passport and his military ID, were still quite visible and readable. And apparently this note, a typed up note, didn't burn in the fiery crash. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Let's go back to the headlines. Reuters, Texas man who backed Islamic State acted alone in New Orleans attack. This is after they said he had accomplices. New York Post is reporting Vegas Cybertruck bomber Matthew Livelsberger shot himself in the head before explosion. This is kind of like the guy committed suicide and then zipped himself up in a duffel bag. If you didn't hear about this, there was an adversary of Hillary Clinton who ended up dead, was found in a bathtub, zipped up in a duffel bag after he apparently shot himself. How he did that, that's curious. And it's much like the reporter, California reporter, who reported on the CIA smuggling cocaine into the United States. Apparently he shot himself twice in the head, which is also interesting. So we're going to go on to the New York Post that says revealed New Orleans ISIS terrorist and Cybertruck bomber both served at Fort Bragg. And then Congressman calls for Fort Liberty whistleblowers to come forward after New Orleans attack and Vegas attacks. Shamsuddin Jabbar and Matthew Livelsberger both served at Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg, before the New Year's attacks. This is very interesting as well. What does she say? Well, the congressman says the Air Force veteran is urging Anna Paulina Luna, who is an Air Force veteran herself, is urging anyone who encountered New Orleans terrorist Shamsuddin Jabbar or Las Vegas bomber Matthew Livelsberger at Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg, to contact her office. She also asked for information on failed assassin Ryan Routh, who apparently also visited Fort Bragg over 100 times, staying there overnight, 29 times, I believe, even though he is not a military service person or associated with the military in any way. She wrote, Anna Paulina Luna, on X, if you are Fort Bragg, Liberty, have any information regarding these three men but are afraid to come forward to your chain of command, I can provide whistleblower protection and intake information. Also, what we have from the New York Post, Vegas Cybertruck bomber Matthew Livelsberger was revealed as Special Forces soldier operator, overseeing drones, as first pic shows him posing with camo and rifle. So apparently also, which was briefly in the news but now is hidden, is the fact that Livelsberger wrote about, and this is why they don't report it on anymore, wrote about classified propulsion in his texts. Whether this is real or it's not real, it's hard to say. Las Vegas suspect ex-girlfriend shares days-old text of him bragging about Tesla's Cybertruck. This is from Fox News. Matthew Livelsberger texted ex-girlfriend that Tesla Cybertruck makes him feel like Batman. That doesn't sound about like someone who's about to kill themselves. An ex-girlfriend of the Las Vegas suspect reportedly shared text messages with the FBI that she received from Matthew Livelsberger just days ago, playfully bragging about his rented Tesla Cybertruck. Alicia Arrett and Livelsberger dated from 2018 to 2021, but she told the Denver Gazette it was odd that he reached out 3 days before the New Year's Day explosion outside President-elect Donald Trump's hotel. There's more. He said, I rented a Cybertruck. It's the shit. It matches my Kobe 2 shoes I had when I was little. Google them, he says, I feel like Batman or Halo. Arrett said he was unaware of Livelsberger's plan to allegedly shoot himself to death inside the Cybertruck loaded with explosives. This is speculative. We don't know if he did. Eric described Livelsberger as an honorable man who loved his country, and she knew him to be politically conservative. Livelsberger's family reportedly described him as a supporter of Trump. She said she noticed a change in him in 2019 after he returned from a tour in the Middle East with a traumatic brain injury. She said Livelsberger became isolated. And then she writes, she said it was taken, a picture of her and him was taken when the two were at spy school in Washington State, according to the Gazette. She reportedly accused him of cheating on her around the time she gave birth to her infant son, her infant daughter. And this was from her wife, his second wife. So my speculation here is she went to spy school and she was a nurse. What was she doing at spy school? Then also his second wife said she accused him of cheating. Why? Was he absent, doing strange things late at night? Maybe planning this attack? And besides, you would have to plan for this attack. It is unlikely that he committed this attack without planning. Also from the New York Post, Matthew Livelsberger claimed Cybertruck bombing was to cleanse his mind of brothers he lost and trash feckless leadership of the U.S. near collapse. He said in this text that was recovered purportedly from a burned out vehicle, which his IDs survived, but he was burned beyond recognition, and some of his firearms were burned to the point where they were unrecognizable. So he wrote in this text that was paper text recovered from the vehicle, a note, as they described it as a note. This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call. Americans only pay attention to spectacle and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives? Why would he call this a stunt? Why would he drive it to Trump Tower? Why would he do it on New Year's morning, hours after a New Orleans attack? Why would he rent a Cybertruck, electric truck? Why would he use Turo? He obviously had credit cards apparently recovered from the vehicle. My speculation here that even though this may be him, that he might have been shot beforehand, that he was stuck in the truck was remotely driven to Trump Tower and ignited. The article also goes on to say, why did I personally do it now? Why would he say that? I needed to cleanse my mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the burden of the lives I took. This sounds like somebody writing for somebody else. Wake up, he says. We are being led by weak and feckless leadership who only serve to enrich himself. Is he referring to Trump? Well, they would like you to believe that. I don't think that's the case. Going to keep moving here. New York Times, soldier in Tesla blast had PTSD and feared U.S. collapse, officials say. The police shared notes from a phone. Okay, it was on the phone used by Master Sergeant Matthew Livelsberger, who fatally shot himself inside a Cybertruck. But the phone wasn't burnt beyond recognition, but he was. Our soldiers are done fighting wars without end states or clear objectives. LA Metro Police Department said in the notes, Sergeant Livelsberger had gone on to explain on a variety of other grievances and issues, some political, some personal. Livelsberger said the people should try peaceful means first, but be prepared to fight to get Democrats out of federal government. In another, he said that masculinity is good. So these are just notes to whom? Masculinity is good and men should be leaders. People should rally around Mr. Trump and Elon Musk. And although this incident is more public and more substantial than usual, it It ultimately appears to be a tragic case of suicide involving a heavily decorated combat veteran who is struggling with PTSD and other issues. So what we do know is he had traumatic brain injury. That doesn't mean you have PTSD. So they're saying he has PTSD, but we don't know if he had PTSD. So that's the New York Times speculating. So what we have to understand here with both accounts is the establishment seems to be wrapping these up with little bows. Now, with most events, violent events that are investigated by the federal government, is particularly the FBI, is they usually don't find a motive. But apparently, people started speculating about this Livelsberger guy and said, this doesn't make any sense. He was a Trump supporter. Why would he drive into Trump Tower and exploded at Trump Tower in a Tesla if he said he supported Donald Trump and Elon Musk? Why would he do that? We don't know. And then people started speculating that maybe he was shot beforehand, put in the Cybertruck, and the Cybertruck was piloted remotely after loaded with explosives and then detonated at Trump Tower. Maybe. Apparently there is surveillance video of him at charging stations along the way. I haven't seen video that shows his face. It seems to show like part of him. Maybe he was. Maybe he did this. Could very well likely been this. But it still seems very strange. Also, with what was happening here in the New Orleans attack, is you have both people attending Fort Bragg, and so did Ryan Routh, who wasn't a military service person. Also, it was reported, hasn't been confirmed yet, that they both went to the psychological operations school, warfare school. It's possible. All right, more news. Outrage as Biden set to award Hillary Clinton, George Soros with Presidential Medal of Freedom. The award is the nation's highest civilian honor, but online commentators say an underserving of the award. Nation's highest civilian honor, supposed to be exemplary contributions to the prosperity, values, security of the United States, world peace, or other significant societal, public, or private endeavors, the White House said in a statement. Tesla founder Elon Musk led the furious outcry, labeling the decision toward Soros honoree as a travesty. And he previously said on Joe Rogan that Soros is fundamentally hates humanity. The story also goes on to say, however, her 10-year Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who was also awarded, but that her 10-year Secretary of State came into so much criticism over her handling of the war in Libya and the attacks on the United States government facilities in Benghazi on September 11, 2012. She also used a private email service for government business. And the FBI director said publicly that Clinton had mishandled classified information, but he had declined to recommend prosecution. But realistically, we know what she was doing. This was an electronic dead drop, where she would put information on this server, classified information, that would then be hacked after large donations to the Clinton Foundation. It also goes on to say Soros, a mega donor to the Democrats, runs a web of nonprofits that bankroll various candidates around the world who align with his progressive agenda, including the Open Society Foundation. $32 billion he gave to the Open Society Foundation since 1984. Commentators on the right have slammed him for funding progressive district attorneys who have been light on crime and that have led to a wave of crime in blue cities. Saturday's ceremonies come just days after Biden awarded former Republican Wyoming Representative Liz Cheney the Presidential Citizens Medal, which is the second highest civilian honor. New York Post is reporting also that Biden to present Hillary Clinton, George Soros, and 17 others with Presidential Medal of Freedom. And then moving on to other headlines, AP says what to know about Apple's $95 million settlement of the snooping Siri case. What do we know? That Apple agreed to pay $95 million to settle a lawsuit that accused the company of turning its virtual assistant Siri into a snoop that eavesdropped on users of iPhones and other trendy devices, in the betrayal to its long-standing commitment on privacy, personal privacy. It turns out that Siri's microphone had been surreptitiously turned on to record conversations occurring without the user's knowledge. Other news that happened yesterday on Friday, AP is reporting Mike Johnson narrowly reelected House Speaker on first ballot. And also AP is reporting Republicans' trust and accuracy of U.S. elections jumps after Trump win. AP NORC poll finds that's not really true. Said about 6 in 10 Republicans said they have a great deal or quite a bit of confidence, but others say less so. And then it shows the graph. It just basically says Republicans in October at 23%, a great deal of confidence in elections, but then after in December, 64%. Most people still distrust elections, particularly in blue states. We saw what happened in California following the elections. Took 3 to 4 weeks to get those races counted because of curing of ballots, which in some states is illegal. One American News reports 3 politically motivated senior DOJ officials leaked public investigation details prior to election in a way to sway the election. That's election interference. OAN also reports Capitol Police arrest suspicious man driving along sidewalk near U.S. Capitol. This wasn't really an issue. Apparently he was intoxicated, but still alarming. And I think that's it for today. So I wonder how this test is going to work out. Trying to figure out, I'm working with a new mic and I'm working with a new system to try to multicast. And I'm just curious how this whole thing is going to work out. So thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to engage the channel, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share the podcast. Don't forget you're under attack. Psychologically and biologically, join me every day live on Rumble, soon to be a YouTube as well, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Stay hip to the trick. And I will see you on Monday. For this week, probably going to have a Sunday review of the mainstream media, so stay tuned for that. All right, hopefully this worked out okay. We'll see how this works. There's a couple details lacking in the multi-stream ability to add details to Rumble channel, things like thumbnails, and you can't set up the live stream. It doesn't give you an opportunity to have a holding video. So it just gives you the generic one, and there's no way to change that. All right, thanks for joining me today. See you Monday.
I'm an American. I have rights.